Yeah, guys, very good morning. Welcome to the session. So, in our last day, we understood about a small concepts of how a recon activity is done by an attacker. Today, we are going to understand about some of the good concepts. Is something like how an attacker will prepare the resource development. See, resource development. It is. Day 5, right? So when we talk about this resource development, the attacker follows some of the recon techniques, right? I said he will find out some loopholes in your organization per se, and he will identify some important and as well as flaws of your organization aspects. Okay, so let's say there may be we'll talk about basically four areas where the attacker used to hit in a digital attacks. See, when we talk about a physical, he may throw something and all that is it's a common activity. But where an attacker used to attack, there are four areas the attacker used to attack. The first one is something called hardware. Okay, second one is software, third one is application, and fourth one is something like firmware. Now you can ask, what is the difference between a software and application? See, in a software we can say this is a raw software, and this is application is something like it's a combination of portable as well as web application. Okay, so these are the four areas. When we talk about the hardware, how an attacker can hit, attacker hits the heap locations. Heap location, there's something called heap locations for all your memories. Like you have a hardware, a hard drive, solid drives. There is something called your uh, what can I say, your RAMs. There, because of the loopholes of that particular methodology of collection of that particular memory collection, so he will use something like heap location processing, and he will identify some data out of it. Okay, so this is a very this is a quite older concept. Now it is something like uh, very difficult. And now when talking about the software, so there are so many softwares. Right now in the world there are more than 4 billion different softwares are there. So it is highly impossible to understand each and every software. But your organization software, let's say your organization using some 5 to 10 different type of softwares. Okay, let's say 5 to 10 different type of software. Now what he will do, he will identify some loopholes out of these softwares. Let's say you are using some operating systems like Windows 10, 11, 2019, right? He identified, let's say, and you are using Red Hat 7, and let's say you have CentOS 8. So you are using these many operating system, like softwares like in general people used to use Microsoft Office, O365, or you can take something like something like PZ browsers, like Firefox, and let's say you take Chrome. So likewise you have softwares. Okay, so and applications are something like, and databases, you may have a DBs, something like MySQL and MS SQL. Applications something like HRM management, this management, this management. The combination of multiple. It's not a basically we can say this is a standalone or a web application which we can consider to be used. HRM, accounts management, like you can say attendance management, or these are the common applications I can say. And firmware is something like version, you can say HMC console, hardware management console of IBM, ID rack, Dell hardware console, Cisco IOLM. So likewise, you may have your firmware management softwares. So attacker may attack any part of these particular resources. Let's say these are the things identified by your attacker. Now he wants to hit, and he identified there is a a Microsoft Office and a Microsoft you are using, Red Hat you are using, CentOS you are using. Now the older concept is something like there are actually not older, there are two types basically. We'll talk about concept of exploitation. So attacker generally used to follow two types of exploitations. One is called, wait a while please, concepts of two types of exploitation. One is known as bind. There is something called bind. The other one is called reverse bind. Okay, now what is bind? So bind is something like attacker will attack the loophole of the operating system or application which they are providing the services. Let's say Windows has some RDP exploit which it can directly you can hit. For that you will get some reverse shell or a direct MITRE on that particular service. There's an example I'm telling. Okay, so the exploitation is the flaw is already there. And by hitting you from outside to inside, it get exploited. Is known as bind technology. And there is something called a reverse bind. You can say reverse bind is something actually there is no, there is an exploitation but which cannot be, and there is no service for that inside. Let's say you are using Microsoft Office, which you actually generally it cannot be you cannot exploit Office from outside to inside, right? Because you are not providing any services to any remote agency. It is a local service, right? So it is not possible till someone activate that particular service from inside to outside. Okay, from inside to outside. Okay, so this is something like bind is something you have service. Let's say again I'll take yesterday's example only. This is the example. See, I am getting the service. Now I know what is my destination. Destination is something like 117.216.213.20 and the port is something like 8443. So I know my destination, I know my, and against that there is service running. If I exploit this, if there is a let's say there is a something like some vulnerability is there for VMware. If I exploit this is known as bind. When I use some exploitation methodology, I can say for 8443 I'm using something like bind process. But inside, let's say there's an office work is running, there's a libro, let's say it's a VMware, so LibreOffice, if I use for that particular LibreOffice or something Linux based operating system, Office, for which actually it is not providing any remote services. How do I open this particular destination IPs inside and go inside and open a office? It's not possible, right? Someone should click inside. So to open that is known as reverse bind. So if we have service from the front end, if I run any technology to exploit is known as bind, whereas reverse bind is something like the exploitation will be done from the inside to outside. Okay, so the bind is something like almost it's killed, because nowadays each and every software expertise, or you can say software developers, are more focusing on security concepts, right? So they even interested to work with technologies along with the security provision. So nowadays it is something like almost impossible to kill, with very rare cases. Impossible, almost like something like impossible, because the vulnerabilities keep on identifying, they are getting patched all the time. So it is not that so easy. As soon as they identify, they used to patch. So bind is something like just to throw a proof of concept, right? This is something like only when the proof of concept, as a proof of concept, there is a bind procedure. The older technologies which you can show as a magics, right? So that is possible, like 1220 MITRE. You take 0805 or 0820, 0857. These are some attacks of Microsoft, basically. SMB exploit. So likewise. So it is something like only to make people more excite towards your attacks and all. So that is possible, but in real time world it is not possible to hit a bind. So to overcome that, there is a concept of reverse bind. Reverse bind come into the picture. Okay, reverse bind come into the picture. So attackers create some malicious content, basically. So this is something like the service will open from inside to outside. This can only possible when some malicious content you are throwing inside by using various means. So the various means will understand in our further sessions, that is when we talk about how the delivery can happen or initial access can happen. Okay, so first, how this particular malicious content can be created. Malicious content can be created first. So now the malicious content, how an attacker creates a malicious content, the most important. So there are various methodology. One is one famous methodology is something like utilizing macros. Utilizing macros is one of the most famous technology, and they used to enable this macros. Under the macros, they will throw the script. They throw the scripts. Now scripts runs in which language? It can be generally Python, Perl, C#, and PowerShell. These are some of the famous scripts used to create the macros. And there are some some other coding technologies should generally used to follow. Otherwise they used to follow some ready-made scripts by using MSF, Metasploit framework, and there is something like they follow something like what was it, core impact, which you can create the ready-made scripts for reverse bind shell and all. So we'll take a small example. I will show you a small example how an attacker will create a macro. It's very, it looks like very simple, but let's see, I'll show you. Simple. Let's say I want to create a macro enabled word. See, this is my curator, let's say some plan. Now this is I want to go and share with the people. See, there are so many things which I have given, and I want to throw. This looks like legitimate, right? I want to throw this to the let's say other end. So by any means I will send, right? So there are lot many things are available to send like this. So consider I'm just enabling view click. There is something called macros. So when I click on view macros, there is nothing right now. So I have a capability to create, see, let's say I'm creating for this particular document. So what I'm using some create. Okay, because, okay. We'll do one thing. I'll create a new one itself because it was already saved one, so it won't take a new one. Okay, black, right? View macros, okay, yeah, document. So I'm creating something like, let's say, test macro. Okay, wait. Let's say create a macros. Okay, wait. Yeah, I'll just create this. So as soon as it creates, see, it's saying that subject test macro. You can give something like message box, or you can write something like, okay, message box. I'm giving Uh, Hi, this is Vishnu. Okay, when I run this, see, hi, this is Vishnu, right? It will come, right? So, and what I'll do, I'll copy entire thing, and I wanna create two more like this. And first, I will change it to document open because I want to make it automated, right? So, document open, it will say instead of message and all, one minute, something, there is a command missing. It is not getting done. So we'll remove this, don't worry. These these two things not required. This is not required anyway. I will close this and I will save it as enabled document. Okay, so I will use something like 2. Okay, in the desktop area. When I close this, so this is my document. However, it is showing some macro enabled document. You can change this particular, that particular standard. You can change the icon and all. Just double click. So it is asking some security warning and all. As soon as this is the once you click, you will get a this is how a document open. Subject document open subject auto run save. Right, let's say yes. Yes, it's coming. So let's save and reopen. Okay, see, this is a small use case. So I said this is the only ones I created. I enabled that. Whenever I double click this, I will get hi, this is Vishnu. So this is background, it is running this particular a command, a small command. Let's say if I change this, let's say if I change this with some execution, edit. So instead of hi, this is Vishnu, this is, if I write hi, this is virus, and I write some code by using some commands. So what will be the cause? You will get panic, right? Yeah, Subramanya Sai. Hello. So this is something like I'll provide some videos. I have some videos with me related to macro enabling and coding and all. I will share it with you. Okay, so this is a small concept just I want to share. So now when you close this, see what happens. Now it will show something like this is virus. See, this is virus. So whatever you write on the background, not only this is only a pop-up. Whereas if you want to go for a longer stretch, something like if you want to go and write entire code and write some memory heap execution exhaustion, something like see, if you go to your YouTube, it's a quite easy topic, enable and learn macro in Excel, whatever. See, you choose anything. See, there are how to Excel and VBA tutorials. See, This is one of the most interesting.
Today, I want to show you how you can eliminate boring and repetitive tasks.
So this is a good cause, but you can utilize the same for a bad cause also. This can be done for a good cause, whereas you can utilize the same for the other way around. Okay. So you can just type learn macros, create malicious content in macros and all that you will create. That is quite easy, right? And this is a one way of creation of your malicious file, right? This is known as crafting of office files. Similarly, you can enable the same thing in PDFs. PDF also you can enable. People used to get some PDF files, right? In general, open the file and get bonus, download the file and get bonus. And you people generally get something like every Christmas in general, Christmas and all. You people generally find some image files, some this kind of files. All the files you can create your pop-ups like this. Not only pop-ups, you can create some bad malicious content on the background. This is a small thing just I explained on the for the front end, whereas you can utilize the same kind of thing for. Yeah, am I audible? So this is something like you can learn the things from here. But anyway, I have some codes with me. I will share it that one also along with the this data. This is a small thing you can create for both Windows or Office files, both Word and Excel, because it works with more works with Windows, Word and Excel. People used to send a estimate data as it is. So as a good practice, you can also create a macro based, enabled based Word document or Excel documents, and you can send it to the attacker, say, I mean suspicious area, where people, as soon as the people runs this particular file, this particular macro will generally enables the path towards your attack, I mean exploitation area. So this is why we require something like learning Perl Python is for this purpose only. So you will use macros for scripting, and you are just throwing through a mail. So the best methodology right nowadays, each individual is following something like, that's why we used to say do not click on unattended or unknown attachments of your mails. So please check whenever you open any file, what kind of activity it is running on the background. So you can't even come to know, but on the background it will create a process by yourself, because you have a rights nowadays. Except in the missions, if you are running in your independent missions, generally you open with a admin privileges. So as soon as you open any application or any office file, the attacker will get the admin privileges directly. So that's why we used to recommend people to open with the least privilege user as well as, and whenever opens any file, just confirm whether it is from a legitimate source or not. Okay, so this is how we can create a small resource development. So this is the one example I said. So attacker used to follow so many kind of different type of resource development. So he will set up customized password list required for custom password list for for any brute force attack and all, because he required this resource development. Otherwise, when the attack performs, he required, as soon as he requires how the attacker will perform without the password. So he will bring out some rainbow tables, and there's something called rock.text. So generally you will find in our internet there is a generally it is around some 13 to 14 GB rock you text download. See, latest version is there. See, there's the latest version is there in the Google. See, 2223 password list. When you download, this is around something like 14 GB of size. Okay, so you can download this. See, if the service is restricted, generally what people used to do, a good question, Subramanya. Now let's talk about this particular thing. Then we'll go towards that. Okay. So this is the area, and there is another file you will find in GitHub, rockq.text. List. See, this is the one. This is the older one, but anyway, there are lot many things are there. I have a link. Yes, you can directly get it. This is around 14 GB. This you will get it from so through this particular rockq.zip you can.
This is Windows account password. This rocky. Hello?
Sai?
Yeah. This particular rocky list is for Windows accounts. Is it domain accounts? Is it or something else?
No, it's a combination of all possible. It is having some 14 GB of size. It includes all. It is a rainbow table kind of thing. It is a combination of up to 256 letters, I think.
So this can be used all across, like domain account, domain controller account, Windows account.
Everywhere. Domain. See, the more you utilize, the more the availability. So you can run this bit on even hash crack also. So if you want to go for any hash crack, so you can utilize this particular rockq.text. I will share the link of that particular. There, I have a mega link where the 2021 list is there. I found in somewhere in GitHub. I will share it with you people. Okay. This is a small one. See, it is showing some 133 MB, right? It is a common thing. Whereas in the internet I found it's not this exactly. Yeah, you find somewhere here. These are the small things. Whatever you are watching, right? These are the small things. We don't require this. There's a mega download hub is there where you will find 13 GB file size. Yes, I think this one only. Yes, this one. This is the one. On the bottom of this particular page, you will get. Yes, this is the one. So when you open this particular file link, this is the mega from New Zealand. Some drive is there, so you can download all this particular zip file. It is around 13 GB of zip files total, and when you extract this, it will create something like 97 GB of data. 97 GB. See, each individual is 7 zip, and it is of total 13 files, 1 2 till 13. The total count is around 12.72 GB, which is the latest version, of RockU. You can download this. This is the link. If anyone wants, people can download. Okay, I'll share it with you. So for the whenever you want to utilize this particular links, right? So this is the best way, and I found this is the very massive content of data. You can't open this particular file. It is because it's of 97 GB and 200 GB of file. But you can view, you can catch some 100 lines to 200 lines. You will find all the list. It will give you all the list of different type of passwords. It will automatically hit. It is a rainbow table kind of thing, but it's the latest version. Okay, and I said a custom password list. Then need to set up the mail list or mail user list, because we are creating a macros and all, and we are creating a word file, right? Like we create this today. Hi, this is virus, but I want to send it to someone, right? Then only people can open this. Then I will get the reverse meta-operator or reverse bind shell. So for that I need some people's list, right? So resource development, I'm bringing out some list of mail users. At least I need for an organization per se, you choose something like 10, 20 or 30 people at least. Out of this, at least one can hit your document. So your success rate is 0.0001. However, you can send it to at least 100 people, 200, but the success is something like out of 100 people, if one can hit, that is also your success. So you can imagine your success with 0.001. So if one hits, then also you are successful. So that means what is your percentage rate of success? It's 99.999. So you should be wait for that. User who clicks your general email. So otherwise, what people used to do, people used to throw on across the globe. So you will find a generic mail users list. If you want a generic mail users list of some domains, let's say Gmail, you can forward it to some send of. See, you can identify in the net. Let's say Indian Gmail user list. See, You're just getting some bulk email ID list. See. These are some common things, right? I'm just explaining. These are the things are available. So likewise, you can also buy. You can also buy if you want a specific, or if someone has already created, see, free Indian email list, bulk email IDs. So you are getting the list here. You generally copy and it, see the length of, see, hundreds and hundreds. You can forward it to the people. There are huge number of mail lists are there, and there are some other methodologies also available. You can also create your customized list of mails. GitHub also providing some text files related to your mails. Okay, if you want to send it across your in the internet, so that is possible by throwing some script, again mail, send it to some over the your mail and all. So it is possible. So you have to set up your organization. So bulk is okay, but organization prospect, again, when you are targeting some XYZ, let's say you have targeted Phoenix Global, you have to understand first the people of Phoenix Global users, or if you identified something like you have a list of people's names, the names of employees names, employee names you collected by anyhow, something like you throw a lucky draw near to their company, or near to mall, or near to cafe, and saying that you will be given with some small gift. So people generally write their names and all in a chit and throw into a draw area, right? So it generally happens. So you can utilize that facility. Generally whenever you go to mall, people used to ask to write the details, organization details, and user ID, mail and all, so which will be something like your collection agency. So people used to do these kind of things to collect the mail user list and all. Otherwise, if you identify the names and the pattern of mail creation. Let's say my name is something like Vishnu Chandapatla. This is my name, and I found my name as they wrote something like vishnu.ch@ibm.com. So this is my mail. So vishnu.ch@ibm.com, and there is something called, there is something called Lavanya Suppala, and they write something like Lavanya dot s at ibm.com. See, so you identified this thing, and let's say there is something else, something like Arvind Singh, and you identified this something a dot Singh ibm.com. So now you identified the standard procedure, how the mail used to create. So you can also, once you got the employee's name, according to this pattern, you can also create the mail list, right? So that is something possible to overcome this. That how company is now changing. Let's say my name is something XYZ. My name may be something like this, but they are giving something like 1006 ibm.com, because this is my employee ID. But however, the attacker used to create in his own custom mails by using any means. So he will identify the pattern and he will try to figure out all the possible things, and I will generally create the mail user list. Now we have a we have a word, and we have a list of users, and we have some raw queue, some data. So I think it's more than sufficient to forward this particular mail, this particular administration mail to, let's say there is 100 of people. I'm forwarding to 100 of people or all the mails. If one gets open that particular file, that's it. Let's say I am the person, I have opened my mail, I got the message, I opened, I downloaded this and I open. As soon as I open, the attacker, this is not, it's just I'm giving, this is a virus. So it is not mandatory to show that there is a pop-up. On the background, it can run anything. So that is what our PowerShell, what our scripts, your Perl and Python or your MITRE activities, or core impact activities, exploitation activities, or buffer overflow activities, whatever. So that's the technique of your exploiter. So now how they exploit by using the vulnerability and all, he will follow. Okay. So this is how an attacker used to create a resource development of his entire data, and he generally follows to the various people, right? Now till now any doubts? And I will clarify Subramaniam's doubt right now after this. Till now any doubts?
One more thing.
Yeah.
The success rate of sending a phishing link or something is not high as you told. It will be very low probability. Then in real time, whether any possibility will be there to take over the mail server or the centralized mail or SMTP something and then go to that way, or this is the standard way? What are the other ways of doing the attack? Because you only told that.
See, 1 minute, I would like to say. So there are multiple ways to create your creation of this particular document, and a macro enabled document is very easy, but the detection is also quite high, right, as per you?
Yeah.
But there are some methods, even they masquerade, they obfuscated the data, and by bypassing your EDR, your antivirus, your email security solutions, there are ways. So people used to identify all those mails, though see the technology is of course updated. These are some patterns, but the success rate is there. Even till now, this is the one of the successful attack ever been happened by any attacker. But you have to identify the exact methodology of creation. I have given this a small example to give you a small ignition in your mind, so you can utilize this facility, and it is possible to throw the phishing. Now the question is something like how your mail security solutions or mail attachment generally used to get detected, right? Your concern is all about detection.
That is one way of looking at it. But is there any other way of looking? Like, for example, any organization will have a mail server, like Outlook is there, or something will be there, like IBM Lotus Notes or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes they will expose that to public facing, like O365 and all. In such a case, is there any way to take over that server in a public manner from outside to inside rather than phishing or anything? That is the point. Detection and all.
See, if there is any loophole in that particular website, let's say there is a Gmail. This is like, let's say this is a mail service is already open for all the people, right? Gmail. So now the concern is something like Gmail users page is open, not the admin page. There are two pages used to be there, okay? So even IBM or any company will never throw the IBM, the admin center of or exchange center of their mail services. So admin page will never be available to you. There are two different type of services runs in every mail services. One is user end, one is admin end. This is known as admin center. There is known as user center. User center is visible to the people, whereas admin center will never visible to the people. So they will never open that particular admin area. And by using the user, you can't go inside to your, there is no possibility at all to go to your admin area. Got it?
But will there be any loophole in the server through which you can go to admin area? Like for
See,
example, this will be hosted on AWS.
see, that's what I am telling. If that particular page is opened and is there any vulnerability that once you identify it, then you can utilize that. See, as I said, right, the first one is you can utilize bind services to kill but they come up with so much of security activities. So nowadays, if you want to go for this kind of direct hit on the services, it will get caught. Because the problem, what is the problem? If you are going directly from outside to inside, let's say there are two cases. One is outside to inside. What you are doing actually, this is known as outside to inside is known as WAN to your DMZ. Let's say this is the DMZ, right? So when we talk about WAN to DMZ, you have opened with some services. Let's say I have opened with port 443 and let's say I have opened some 445 SMB services. Whereas whenever the activity come over through this, it is behind always. Between the WAN and DMZ, there are multiple devices used to come in something like Mail Security Solution MSS. There is something called HTTP content inspection, or or you can also say this is Web Security Solutions or Web Proxy. There is something called content inspection methodology by UTMs. You may use some UTMs for data inspection. There may be some load balancers. Generally, nowadays is a common concept of keeping minimum these four different type of security solutions. So if you are doing any activity from outside to inside with some suspicious packets, of course, other than this, there are common services, something like a firewall, right? IPS and IDS used to be there. So if you want to touch this particular services, you have to go through any one of the services which may detect your activity, because you are throwing the malicious content directly, which used to have some signature kind of things, which will automatically detect either in UTM, IPS or IDS, which will block directly. So it is very difficult to hit any services from outside to inside directly. Nowadays the concept is very difficult. And one more thing, over and above, as I said, you have only right to go up to the path of a router, right? Though the service is running right now, whatever you are watching here, let's say I have opened with some this particular page. I do show all this particular page. I generally show this particular page, right? Is this the real IP of my service? You are keep on hitting on this particular service, right? But will it go directly here? No, not exactly. The backend IP is something else. Otherwise, this is an open internet VMware services is running in my area. If the attackers were there used to be something like open attackers. They can hit anyone. So my machine could have already compromised. But why it is not yet compromised? Because This is the whatever you are seeing, right? This is not the actual IP. The actual IP is something else. This is the only front end IP which I am publicly faced IP. This is the only publicly faced IP, but on the background my IP is something else, right? So these are the some constraints when you are start outside. Whereas when you are going red teaming, because you are doing inside only, so you don't bother about how to cross your natting, how to cross your IDS IPS. So then there is a possibility of saying that outside to inside attacks may be possible, but in a real time scenario it is not. 99% it is not possible. People show some this kind of things, something like some magics in some webinars and all, and some some hackers forum and all, they used to show some two three things. They will open a curly, they will open a machine, see I am attacking the machines and all. This is only magic, just showing. It's the only, see जैसे होता है ना, दांत का हाथी दिखाने का कुछ और खाने का कुछ और. Similarly, something like that only. So it is not possible in a real-time world to work with a direct penetration. Whereas you can use the reverse bind, and Subbu is asked some question is something like, what was this question? Why? What was the question, Subbu?
Service is restricted from inside to outside, open the graph for a reverse.
Okay. Services restricted from inside to outside, right? Very nice question. So now the question is something like, attacker, sorry, let's say there are some services, let's say I would like to say 021023. This is known as known ports for various services, right? So you can restrict this particular ports, right? But after this 1024 till 65536, these are known as ephemeral ports. So you can't restrict this port, because any service can use any, I mean it can open any other port also, but major known ports are generally, it doesn't open by any operating system. But I will use something like 4444, which is known as ephemeral port, 8888, 33,000. So I will open a service on this particular thing. See, let's say I'll give you an example. Again, see, MSTSC. See, I have opened with so many ports, right? See, I'm opening one port. It is opening a remote desktop, right? Generally, remote desktop opens on which port? 3389. But on which port it is opening? 33200. See, I will show you the same thing on our NetStat also. See, this is the one, right? It is running on actually 33200. Whereas this port, you can't stop this particular port, because this is an ephemeral port. I have opened this particular port for this particular activity. You see, it's open. Of course, there's a hanging status. There's an activity running on the background. That's why it's got hanged. But see, it's open on 33200. You can't stop all the ports to go out. You can only stop some restricted ports, that is some specific ports, but you can't stop all the ports. So I will use such a port for inside to outside. I will use some 65,000 port, 35,000 port, 25,000 port, which is considered itself as a ephemeral ports for any service. So when I am going for any request, I can open some port. So that port may be anything other than this 1023. So you can't restrict these many and also when you write any policies, generally people used to write inside policies, not outgoing policy. Incoming policies used to write firewall. See, when someone hits from outside to inside, they used to write in. I mean, you can say what inbound rules. We can say inbound rules. Generally, whenever we write in firewall, also, have you ever seen this? There is something called advanced settings. So we used to write inbound rules. There are so many inbound. When you click on outbound rules, see, so there is there, but all are maximum any only. See, any allowed. There is no generally people used to write the specific outbound rules, but in this case, inbound rules used to be more successful, right? I mean, more successful in nature. So all the outgoing used to generally don't write outbound rules. They used to write inbound rules only. Traffic incoming for incoming traffic only, because the traffic is not legitimate from outside to inside, right? Whereas from inside to outside, they themselves consider as a. But nowadays people are doing. I'm not claiming that it's not doing, but it's still people are doing. From inside also they are start restricting so many services. However, some services you can't stop. Something like this opening of some specific ports which opens right towards outside. It is not that so easy. So this is how we
This
can
is a
identify.
case. This is a case if custom port is used, but if I am telling like nmap someone runs on the target, nmap shows every other port as filtered. Let us assume like there are some custom ports, there are known ports, and there will be custom ports. Like so, but the nmap or something shows filtered. That means it is a kind of not there, right? It is not existent. The port of the service is not existent, and it is not on a custom port. In that case, what can we do? This is a case where network ports are allowed, but if there is not allowed or it is filtered, then
If it is filtered, the execution is not possible, right?
yeah, that is the point. Like if it is filtered, then execution is not possible. But
So
is
we
there
have
any
to
other
find the
way?
alternate method. Then there is no option for that. See, let's say, see, as per you, let's say these ports, you are thinking that these were the suspicious ports. You have created link, but anyhow, the the administrator is very smart enough. They blocked these particular ports. Let's say, okay. Let's say these are the suspicious ports. I am blocking these suspicious ports, so no one can get even the attack you have got exploited, the session will not be generated because these ports are blocked from inside also. So in this case you have to find out the another. There is no option for you. You have to find out the other way. So you see, attacker, it's not that so easy for even attacker. So he used to sit and he used to find out the ways. So this is some see right now what is the trend is going on. Just I'm explaining. So this is a trend actually still going since last 10 years, and there is no exact solution for this till now. So the security concern, the people's concern is all about security for from inside to outside exposure. I mean the rules generally it is very difficult to write for even for a firewall expertise to write from outside inside to outside rules. So it's very difficult. So they don't write. They used to write some specific things but not all, right? Even when writing, what happens, he can only write my destination is port so and so and so, ATN443. He can open only ATN443. My front end is always ATN443 only. My destination IP is always ATN443, but background my incoming services on this, it is very difficult to see, this restriction is almost not possible for attack, I mean, the administrator to create. The combination is something like L host and remote host is something like 4444, and the other side port is something like 800 and all 8080, right? So it is a kind of
Okay.
not possible activity only.
Okay.
Yeah, but right now this is one of the most trending activity, and it is somewhere here, you can say. Right now there is no exact solution for this, even for it, except social awareness. I mean, you have to make them more, educate the people not to click on these kind of things only. You can only say that. Other than that, there is no solution as of now. Though there are so many attachment inspections they come, the attackers used to create in obfuscated data kind of things, and it is very difficult.
And one more thing, is there any way to restrict at the target level that PowerShell should not execute any specific whitelisting to tell PowerShell should be blocked, Word should be blocked like that, or there also they we have to give leeway for execution of
No,
certain
no, there is
processes?
an option in the PowerShell itself. See, in the PowerShell, get execution policy. By default, it is restricted, right? So, by default, it is restricted. So, there is something called, if the attacker used to have something like, let's say admin, then it's not, he can change. Let's say if the attacker has a right on my machine, he can change, but you can set execution policy, hyphen execution policy. See, there are total 7 8 models, so you can simply make it all signed. So means you will only, it can only get signed whenever there is a signed copy of data is there. Now who will sign? Inside the script owner or whatever, inside data or whatever. Otherwise you can make it restrict directly.
Okay.
So this will help you out. But whereas if you have the permission on this particular machine, right, he can modify that one also, like what I did, right? So that is something like very, if he has the right, then why he will play with this PowerShell? He will directly come and do other activities, right? So this is how a resource development can be made. So there are various standards. See, we discussed that particular technical tactics and techniques over there, and out of them, these are some of the examples I have given for according to the attacker's prospect. Now the detection area, when we talk about the detection area, these two are almost like impossible. I said these two are something like almost impossible to detect. So it's much better to restrict ourselves, educate the people, and moreover, I do recommend people to educate continuously your non-IT team members, something like HR team, admin team, accounts team. You have to keep on, educate, prepare a campaign, give some social activities, for create some competitions to make them aware of what is IT security and all. And there is no other than this, there is no other option other than this, right? Now let's move on to initial access. When we need initial access, simply the attacker will start throwing all the above said, what we discussed, right? He will try to throw on the organization area, the by any means. So the favorite is something like, again, it's a phishing. So I think we discussed about fishing methodologies also, but still I'll just cover something like, okay, fishing. So what is fishing basically? Anyone?
Convincing any third user or any known
In
user.
general, I'm not talking about with respect to, see, we used to throw that rope, right, into the water, and we are always keeping something food for fish to eat that particular food. See, we used to do this what we can say, hunting of fishes by using some stick and all. I don't know what used to call. People sit for hours to catch a single fish, right? So we have one source of bunch. We are giving to all the fishes. What is that? What is what? Food. We are putting some small fish or some sort of food, something like a potato or something like which fishes used to eat. So we used to throw there some other chicken piece or something like, we used to grab along with that particular knot, right? And we are throwing into the water or a pond. Now all fishes are behind that particular food. So if someone knows, then the fishes will not come, because the experienced fishes, something like the aged fishes, generally not get catched because they know there is something like a hook. You can get struck over there, or you can say you can be exploited. So similarly, fishing is similarly the same concept. We are sending a malicious malicious attachment. Now what is this malicious attachment? As I said, consists of macro enabled, micro enabled. There is some background automated process. Automated, when you double click that, it will create another pipe basically, or it will open another service. That may be anything. Okay, that is known as malicious attachment. To the people, to the people, the best process is something like through mail, through message, through voice, to call. I mean to say call, right? And by throwing hardware provision. See, this is known as two type of phishing. This is known as spear phishing and there's something called whaling. Now, what is meant by spear phishing and what is meant by whaling? Spear phishing is something like you are identified one organization, you identified one organization. Let's say IBM.com. You identified, and there are 1,000 people. There are 1,000 people. Now you are forwarding all, and you got all the mail list, and you are forwarding to all 1,000 people is known as spear phishing. But you have identified IBM.com. Whereas if you are sending to, let's say 10 different, let's say IBM, there is a Flipkart, Flipkart.com, and there is something called Amazon.com. Now you are forwarding to multiple group of domains. This is not spear phishing. This is general phishing. This is known as phishing. This is known as global phishing. What is meant by whaling then? Whaling is another concept. You have identified one organization. Again, you identified one organization. Ah, let's say again IBM, we take IBM.com. Now inside, what are the directors? What are their, you can say, highly skilled as well as sophisticated portfolios. You know, catching a whale basically. Whaling is something like something catching a whale. Whale. So you need to identify whales. So where we need to go for this? We need to go deep inside your organization. Like we need to go deep inside a sea, then only we'll find the whale, right? So we need to identify for a whale. We need to analyze more and more, and we need to only identify the people those who don't have the IT knowledge, something like accounts officers, finance directors, HR directors. So they don't have that much IT knowledge, right? So you can throw a phishing mail on this particular whale is known as whaling. And there's something called a mail message. Message is known as smishing. Again, smishing is considered spear smishing, spear whaling, whale smishing. It's a common activity. Voice also. It is on wishing. Over the voice. People used to trap, right? People used to trap by honey pots, honey traps, right? By a girl. People used to throw, call, a lady used to call people and start grabbing the information. Honey trap is the most successful, activity. Smishing, chats, over the chats, people used to sex chat and all. So like that, and they started sharing the information of the organization per se. So this is what how the people used to do. But in these two cases, this is the physical exploitation, you can say. You are grabbing the information. Over the message, still there's a chance of getting drive by download. You are sending some mail, just click over here and then do the things and all. It consider again drive by download. But the mail is known as exclusively phishing, which will generally provide something like links or downloaded areas which will have a malicious content, right? So if you see all these again, this is right now the trending areas. You can see there is another over and above, there is something called baiting. There's something called baiting, throwing a malicious pen drives, hard drives, CDs near to the areas of the organization, so that some gadget lovers used to collect, they used to go and connect into the organization machine or their personal machine. Some point of time the data has been traveled to organization. So there is no, this is known as baiting, or cyber baiting. Cyber baiting is something like throwing in malicious hardware, throwing malicious hardware like HDD, USB stick, or CD DVD, something like. Or people used to throw something like free of cost Windows 11 is, they used to distribute. So that particular CD DVD contains the malicious content, which will leads to inside out exploitation, right? So this is all about our resource development initial access. If the attacker used to identify any one of these, the attacker can get all the possible privileges or whatever exploitation. Once he get exploitation, he will do some activities that we will discuss in further session. Any doubts till now?
Nothing.
Yeah, please.
Uh, PowerShell, anything will be there. PowerShell exploitation.
like PowerShell exploitation.
Make power of scripts.
That we will see exploitation area.
Yeah.
We'll see in the exploitation area, not PowerShell, but we'll get command prompt. But through that, we will open a PowerShell of that particular mission. But remote execution is not possible in general. Let us see what are the possible things that we can do. Okay. See the older version. See if I show you. mm, One minute. Dollar PS version table. See, this is the version that you can see 5.1. Mm, if I want to run something like this one, wait. PowerShell hyphen version 2.0. Actually, I was in see, this is what we required. If it is installed with latest older version of .NET, I will get that. I will show when. Wait a while. It takes time because let's hope for the best. If it is done fast, let's see. I'll show you. So right now the version is something like 5.1, right? So which has so much of detection issues. So if you run any PowerShell on this particular version, it will always enable a background. This one, where it is your antivirus process execution, which will do. See here it is there, compatibility versions are there, right? See, so you can change over your versions. For that you require .NET framework. So once the .NET framework get installed, okay, actually downloading will take some more time, I cannot assure you, but once it is done, you can do a backward compatibility which will bypass your antivirus and all other internal signature identifiers. So with if you run any command with this particular versions, it works, right? So executions can possible on the lower versions only, not the 4 and above is not at all possible. So that's why nowadays people move on to the older concept of again earlier the concept of detection of C++ was there, and now they move on to C sharp, Perl, Python, more the malicious codes. Now again Python again stopped because the detection become more on Python. So it is now time to the people are changed over to the older concept again, like C++, or something like Perl, new codes, and C sharp. Without that, the latest, if you are using with the Python and if you are using PowerShell, right, you will be get caught 99%. Otherwise, you have to run with a backward compatibility, which will actually bypass your controls. So prior to run any execution, first execute in your environment, test it if it is gets working without identifying. See, identifying your antivirus version, everything is important. Don't think version may not help you. Version will also help you because the methodology of detection is also possible over this particular area, right? I just want to show, but it will take some time. So anyway, so this is all about our resource development and initial access. So in the initial access, if one gets successful, so the attacker will get the data. I mean, you can say MITRE or you can say something like, okay. So once the exploitation is done, so we'll discuss about what are the possible exploits, the how do we do the MITRE and all that I will show in the next session. Okay, we require some lab kind of thing, so I'll do it. I'll set up that lab. Yeah. Okay, guys. Then that's all for the day. We'll meet in tomorrow. I mean, next.